The Congress party caught looking London, talking Tokyo on the Adani issue, unfortunately, not accepting the Supreme Court verdict as well. On a day when Jairam Ramesh came out with a two-page analysis of the verdict, not essentially accepting it, their own Chief Minister Revant Reddy in Telangana was seen welcoming an Adani delegation led by Karan Adani and discussing investments, growth prospects, among other things. So obviously, the Congress party has two yardsticks, one for Delhi, another one for Hyderabad, and that's going to be our focus, this burning question. Let me begin with the headlines first. After arrest of car sevak, Indie leader now fearmongers with another Godhra possible remark. Lobby narrative completely crumbles as Supreme Court calls for probe into the Hindenburg malafide. But despite the verdict, the India-Adani rant continues, says top court extraordinarily generous to SEBI. Congress hypocrisy on Adani stands exposed, Jairam slams, but Revant Reddy welcomes delegation. Under lens for liquor gate, Kejriwal skips summons for third time, calls them illegal and invalid. And in Thrissur, Prime Minister holds a mega roadshow, hits out at left, Congress in an unrelenting attack. Welcome back, friends. The Supreme Court today has quashed a batch of pleas seeking a SIT probe in the Adani Hindenburg case. The report by the US-based firm was used by the opposition to take on the Modi government. The verdict, of course, by the apex court was not welcomed by the Congress party, even as their own chief minister was seen welcoming one delegation. Let's look at this story in a capsule, and then I come back for a conversation.
The Adani attack, a fatal blow according to the opposition. Turns out to be a big dud. Three-judge Supreme Court bench, headed by the Chief Justice of India, said there were no grounds for an SIT to probe the case.
Judgment is spoken now, and the judgment says that the judgment is taken in view there is no conflict of interest, and I think that settles the issue. And therefore, irrespective of what people may say, today there is a judgment of the Supreme Court till it is, assuming it is sought to be reviewed, till unless a different view is taken in review, today it is the settled position, and it is not only an interpretation, it is a conclusive finding on the various issues that were raised, including conflict of interest.
The opposition clearly is unhappy with the Supreme Court order. This with the Congress and the left being most vocal about the SC verdict. India continues on Adani rant despite verdict as their narrative falls apart. Why won't India accept the Supreme Court verdict? Let's debate.
All right, with me in the studio, senior advocate Teshrata Nigam, political analyst live from Delhi. Also Sumant Raman, political analyst, joining us live from Chennai. And we have Yogendra Kapoor, economist, live from Delhi. I would want to begin with Sheetal P. Singh, senior journalist. And let's see if we can really defend the Congress party position today. You see, Mr. Singh, the Congress party continues to say it's Modani. Is it time that they should be modifying it? And instead of Modani, they should be calling it something like Supreme Court Ani, because the Supreme Court essentially has spoken today, the topmost court of the country, and there is nothing above that. They lay the law of the land, and according to them, the SEBI is doing the right job. There is something that is amiss in what Hindenburg did, and the Supreme Court has said that even the Hindenburg report should be investigated by agencies if there is a violation of law. What more could the court have said by way of clarity? Mr. Sheetal P. Singh.
Oh, yes.
I think there's some audio issue.
It
Mr.
took some
Sheetal
time
Singh, are you
because
getting
of
me?
the internet connection.
Are you getting me? My
with
question
me.
was to you.
Some time because of the internet connection with me.
Sure.
I heard a part of your question, but not the complete question.
My question is, how is the Congress party continuing to stick to its position and with some double standards, if I could add, despite the Supreme Court verdict today in the Adani case?
That is Congress to answer. But as I see from the verdict which has been delivered in Supreme Court, it was related to the earlier order about the investigation by SEBI itself. And the court is of the view that the petitioners have not provided any extraordinary material by which the allegations about the functioning of the SEBI in this matter could draw the attention of Supreme Court. And Supreme Court find that the petitioners also failed to provide additional charges which they were labeling about the people who are particularly investigating this matter, that their interest, whether it falls in the purview of asking for a SIT or any other agency's inquiry by Supreme Court. Supreme Court find that there is they find that there is no case of such involvement of Supreme Court. So, okay, Supreme Court can have its view, and the political parties still can have other view, and even on judgments they can have their views. So Congress is there to answer why
political
and
party,
for what they want that this issue should be.
Sumant Raman, political party is absolutely entitled to a
investigated
view, but then the view can't be
created,
different
but
in Delhi.
On the SEBI part, Supreme Court.
The view can't be different in Hyderabad than the one in Delhi if the Congress party is same, Sumant Raman. Revant Reddy last heard, despite Asaduddin Owaisi calling him RSS Anna, happens to be a Congress party chief minister. And he is sitting with an Adani delegation, ironically on a day when the Supreme Court has come out with this verdict, Sumant Raman.
Yeah, Abhishek, I want to make 3 or 4 very quick points. First of all, the Supreme Court is not clean chit given to anybody. It is basically to say that the SEBI is proving it. We don't need an independent outside session. That does not mean that there is no probe. We can close down. In fact, today they want more time for the application of the SEBI probe for. So let's be very clear. This is a external issue which has been sort of opined on. Second, Revant Reddy meeting members of the Adani group, the charges are clearly specific. Whether it is in the OCRC report or whether it is in the Hindenburg report, all the charges that are getting made, they have very clearly and specifically given charges. This is not, people are involved in something X or Y. These are specific dates, specific accounts, specific names which are linked to these accounts. Everything has been given. So that Revant Reddy should sort of stop associating himself with the entire group, or stop associating because of specific charges. Indian business group, which does not have charges unless there is some state or the other. So you will not get any group. So then people basically states will have to say we won't have any industry in our state, which is not happening. Now, the point is, specific charges have been made.
So obviously, if what is good for the goose should be good for the gander, right?
That's all.
If it is about growth, economy, jobs, development, etc. in Telangana, as it is about jobs, growth, development, etc. in Vizianjam, port in Kerala, so it should be in Gujarat, so it should be in Mumbai. Why double standards?
The use, sorry, this does not legitimize or justify the matter of which the Adani Group is accused of. That has to be investigated.
Are you suggesting, Sumant Raman, clearly, are you really suggesting that the Adani Group would get without any hanky-panky in a state like Telangana, where Congress rules, in a state like Kerala, where Communist Party rules, in a state like Bengal, where Mamata Banerjee rules, but would have to indulge in hanky-panky in a state like Gujarat, which is their home state, where the BJP is in power? I mean, is that the logic?
Not at all. The point is, if there are charges against in their interactions with the Telangana government or with the Kerala government, let it be brought up into the public domain. Let that be investigated, and if there is something which is improper with the Congress government or with Communist government, by all means proceed against those people as the politicians.
I think Sumant Raman can't it be admitted that the Congress party just does not understand, does not understand that its politics is not helping its cause. Can the Congress party really, or somebody can tell the Congress party that its politics is not helping its cause? For example, if they say Modi and Adani is Modani, then in that case, Revant Reddy and Adani becomes Redani. Then in that case, Pinarayi plus Adani becomes Pindani. Then in that case, Mamata Banerjee plus Adani becomes Bindani. Deshratan Nigam.
Nice, Abhishek, but I don't think that there is a personal relationship between any of these people.
Sumant, the question is to
See the photographs which flashed all over social media of the private and so on.
takeaways,
So I
the key
think
takeaways
that
from
let's
the
not keep ourselves and say that
Adani has been given a clean chit.
Mr. Raman, let Deshratan Nigam speak. I have asked him. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. No, that is what I was saying, Abhishek. Each one has a different point of view. Is that question for me or is it for Mr. Nigam?
To the Mr. Adani.
He's speaking.
Second, the action that the government should take against Hindenburg for market manipulation and the fraud that has been committed, and the protection of Indian investors. These are three takeaways. And then, if you recall, Rajasthan also invited Adani's. Kerala, you've already pointed out. Telangana, you've pointed out. West Bengal also, Adanis are investing. And therefore, at this point of time, let us be very clear, this was a deep committed conspiracy where Mahua Moitra also got involved into it, where specific questions were asked. And therefore, today what you have to see is the deep-rooted NGOs which are working against India. OCCRP is a Soros-funded organization. Prashant Bhushan's links are also there. This, the government of India must investigate and ensure that the Hindenburg and their agent in India needs to be punished. That is what the real takeaway from this is. The fraud is committed by Hindenburg, which they committed in US also, where they are suffering a lot of prosecution and penalty as well. Similar thing should happen in India. The Supreme Court has clearly said so in its judgment that if they have done any wrong about short selling, making money out of creating havoc in Indian stock market, they need to be punished because it is clearly a crime. Therefore, the key takeaways I am saying, the Supreme Court has made it very, very clear today that this is the path through this judgment that the government of India must take. If this is not only about Adani, tomorrow it could be an attack on the Reliance, it could be on Tata's, it could be on Mahindras. So it could be anything. So we need to be very futuristic about such people and unearth this conspiracy and punish the people both in India and those who are also,
before I get in the expert economist comment from Mr. Kapoor, I want to go back to Sheetal Singh. Mr. Sheetal Singh, the point that Deshratan Nigam is making is something which some other political observers have also made, which is that there is a clique working in the Supreme Court, which almost hijacks every issue. From Pegasus to Rafale to, in this case, Adani, Hindenburg, same set of people, same set of petitioners, and there seems to be common linkages. It's not just about George Soros and OCCRP, which, by the way, the Supreme Court verdict bans today. It's about other set of people who are sort of trying to use legal process and hijack these issues and try to give them political spin. Mr. Singh, I think you have muted your audio. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Samil. I was saying that even when BJP was in opposition, we know that most of the issues of those kind of issues which were of national relevance and which were opposing the dispensation then were raised by Mr. Jaitley and some good lawyers of our country which are and were associated with BJP or like that. So because Congress is in opposition and whosoever opposition parties, lawyers and others, you will find them in many of the cases where government is challenged. It's natural. I don't think I don't take it as a conspiracy or anything like that. It is their job to raise the questions of national relevance and wherein allegations of such nature as they are there, like siphoning of
No, in
several
fact, Mr.
hundred
Singh,
thousands of crores
the Supreme
of Indian
Court is
money
actually suggesting,
through,
right? Deshwant Nigam, the
many
Supreme Court
accounts
is
in
actually
Singapore,
suggesting
Mauritius and
that
other
there seems to be
places.
an element of
It has
violation
the value
of
to be
law.
raised.
The Supreme
And,
Court is suggesting that.
rightly
They are
these
saying that not just SEBI, but even investigative agencies should look at the Hindenburg report from the prism of the possibility of violation of Indian law. Deshwant Nigam?
Yes, absolutely. And there is a clear signal to the government that please take some action, deeply investigate it, and unearth whatever the violations of the law are there. Because fraud has also been committed by manipulating the market, then short selling and making profit out of it also. Therefore, there is a clear indication and direction to the government of India by Supreme Court. Please take action on Hindenburg.
Absolutely. And Mr. Yogesh Kapoor, you see, the Congress defense, even now, is about their fight against crony capitalism. Of course, Jairam Ramesh forgets the pictures of Revant Reddy and of Pinarayi Vijayan and of their own leader of opposition at the Vizian Jamport and the Congress party giving credit to their own leader at that time for getting the Vizian Jamport. But Mr. Yogesh Kapoor, is it really about crony capitalism? Is Adani's story not about India's overall march to progress? It's not just about one corporate group. It's about India's march to progress and some forces not liking it. And that's why these kind of stories off and on and targeting one group purely because the group happens to be from the home state of the Prime Minister, nothing else.
Right. First thing I would like to say about the Adani group is that let's look at the fundamentals of this group that they are into. They are into ports, airports, mining business. Now, these are businesses which require strong fundamentals and which are based on your strong financials and the ability to, work in a manner that it can be seen very well by your financials. Now, the Hindenburg report had basically alleged two major issues, which is the stock market manipulation as well as the accounting fraud by the Adani group. Now, once the Supreme Court has now clearly stated that this matter doesn't require any further investigation and that the findings of SEBI are competent and reliable enough, I think this issue is put to rest. Now, what I would certainly like is that this manner of putting up false narratives and then trying to build up on that should be clearly be seen not only by the courts but by the government also, that what kind of actions can be taken against those who put up false narratives to project the credibility of the wealth creators of this country in bad light, and henceforth the other aspects which is related to the foreign investment into our country, they directly get affected because of these, as well as the credibility of the institutions as well. So my point is that it's very important that the Supreme Court has already stated that the action needs to be taken by SEBI and government in Hindenburg, in case they are found to be in violation of the rules as such of short selling. So the point is that
Yeah.
I think it's very important that this should
Absolutely.
come to a logical end in terms of civil and criminal liabilities being put against them.
Absolutely. Mr. Sumant Raman, some other parts of the Supreme Court verdict are telling, or in fact, damning, if you will, about the motivations of the petitioners. So obviously, because it's a strong clique, the Supreme Court would not use strong words, perhaps. But then this is, and Deshratan Nigam, you practice in the Supreme Court, you know whom we are talking about. Sumant Raman, let's look at the observation. This is the Supreme Court of the country saying petitions that rely on unverified and unrelated material tend to be counterproductive. So I think there is a sort of wise counsel on the part of the Supreme Court to the petitioners. Please desist from basing your petitions on baseless material. Right? Then the Supreme Court says newspaper articles and OCCRP report is not conclusive proof to doubt a SEBI probe. The Congress party continues to doubt SEBI probe based on exactly the same content. A Financial Times report, OCCRP report, which the Supreme Court has already junked.
Good, Abhishek. I can only say it's amazing that the work of such a large body of investigative journalists from around the world, based on which several other countries have found it worthy of launching investigations, is deemed to be worthless by our Supreme Court. I guess we have to accept it, because you can't question the court. But I think that if most of the world has found the investigations done by these groups, earlier, whether it was in the form of Panama Papers and so on. By the way, even in Panama Papers, what happened to the Indians whose names figured there? Nothing. So I think it's time that we sort of accept all of these, that we do not, if the court feels that that is not evidence, then maybe they should tell us what they believe. Not evidence. At least they feel it's not even worth information to start a detailed investigation or a criminal investigation. Good luck to them. That's all one can say. Very unfortunate, but that's the way it is. They are the ones who make the decision. They are the ones who write the judgment.
So
one will have
very
to-
disheartened. Sumant Raman, why be so disheartened? I mean, it's Supreme Court of the country, for God's sake. In another matter, the Supreme Court might say, for example, on the Election Commission, that this act of the government is not right. Then you would be very happy about the Supreme Court. Just because it's not to your liking, you're shouting a little dejected. That's what it seems.
No. I'm just pointing out. I'm pointing out the number of countries that have taken these kind of reports by groups of investigative journalists and acted on them. And they include even countries like Pakistan. I mean, what the motivation would have been for people like in Pakistan to have acted against it? You remember the case against Nawaz Sharif. Much of it came from Panama Papers. So let's be very clear. Investigative journalists, especially consortia of investigative journalists, put in a lot of effort. They carry a lot of credibility in most civilized democratic countries. They don't carry much credibility in India.
Sumant Raman,
Now,
there is almost a suggestion in your words that the topmost court of the country has lesser credibility than a bunch of possibly motivated journalists carrying out a hatchet job on behalf of somebody.
No. 1 minute. On behalf of who? So, this George Soros thing is being done to death. I think yesterday I was waiting for somebody to say that truckers had been paid by George Soros. So, it is becoming, you don't need any evidence. And all you can do is say, George Soros has done this, George Soros has done that. Farm education must be funded by George Soros. I mean, but it's fine. I think this is what the people of the country, or large sections of them are willing to swallow. Good luck.
In any case, last word. Last word to Deshratan Nigam. Quickly, Deshratan Nigam, 30 seconds. The court has said that the threshold for the transfer of investigation has not been reached or demonstrated to exist in this instance, and the SEBI can continue its job.
Yes, certainly, Abhishek. In fact, it has become a very convenient tool for the leftists and the so-called liberal journalists, paid journalists, I would say, where they, started doubting our own agencies, where they are doing, and these are autonomous agencies, constitutional creations through an act of the parliament. Now, if SEBI is not allowed to do its work, who will do the work? Supreme Court's job is not to investigate the matter. So, prima facie, they did not find anything wrong. They, in fact, doubted the integrity of the members of the expert committee itself. Now, after the verdict, they are doubting the integrity of the judges of the Supreme Court.
And Sumant Raman, that's the unfortunate part. And the fact that just because Sumant Raman is being a little graceful, he's only sounding dejected. But I have, for example, this tweet by Sabah Naqvi. If there is an issue to be fought for, please don't go to the Supreme Court. The knives are out for the Supreme Court already. And that's the most unfortunate part that this country has to face. The farmers who agitated knew that never sought court intervention but had mass agitation instead. This is a call for anarchy because you have not liked the Supreme Court verdict today. How long would the nation watch this and take this kind of takedown of our institutions by people like Sabah Naqvi is something we should be asking. On that note, Deshratan Nigam, Sumansi Raman, Sheetal P. Singh, and of course Yogesh Kapoor. Thank you so much